This is TWiT.
So remember all those crime shows 20 years ago where a computer's facial recognition system would bring up a photo of some suspect, and that big photo is always on the left-hand side of the screen. I don't know why it's always on the left, but that's where it always is. And then a bunch of lines would be drawn over it by a computer to form a facial recognition map. And then over to the right, and it also is always over on the right, the upper right of the screen, the computer would then scan through a gazillion faces, like, you know, just flicker through them super fast, presumably pretending to be matching them. And suddenly it would, sometimes it would slow down if it was a cheesy show, or it would just stop, which is what you would hope, because it's not a roulette wheel. And you would be looking at the matching face. And then after a dramatic pause to make sure the audience had all caught up, the personal details of the individual's criminal record would paint down the screen below the matching photo. So we've been seeing that for decades, and it was never true. It turns out it's true now. This is one of those things which has sort of quietly happened, and it's being done at a level that surprises people who haven't been like really paying attention. We've got, as we know, this explosion in mass storage that allows everything to be stored. Just that. It's like not what is being stored. The answer is everything is being stored. And we've got crazy computational power. We've got a jump in AI capabilities recently enabled by the crazy jump in computational power. And so this is all what used to be fiction is now absolutely happening. ZDNet picked up on some coverage in the Washington Post, which did some investigative reporting based on work conducted by Georgetown Law's Center on Privacy and Technology. Over the past 5 years, researchers at Georgetown issued public records requests which have revealed that federal investigators, specifically the FBI and ICE, have turned state departments of motor vehicles databases into what they described as a bedrock of unprecedented surveillance infrastructure. And to be clear, this doesn't appear to be a direct violation of any privacy laws. And this is sort of one of the points of this podcast, is that technology is often enabling things for which society has not caught up.
We gave them our pictures for those driver's licenses, never thinking what the consequences might be once face recognition became widespread. Exactly. And there's nothing you can do now, right? I mean, that's it. It's done.
Yes, our face is out.
Grow a beard.
Anyway, in recent congressional testimony,
I did read, and you got to do this. That you don't know what Juggalo makeup is, but you can look it up. Juggalo makeup effectively obscures face recognition. So I think, get ready. There's going to be an invasion of Juggalos.
Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, uh-oh is right. I'll pull up a Juggalo while you continue, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. In recent congressional testimony, members were not happy. And having watched more than my share of congressional testimony, no one wants to have Jim Jordan, who is a very, shall we say, excitable and interactively aggressive Republican congressman.
Oh, he's scary.
From Ohio.
This is really scary. This guy is wearing Juggalo makeup, just so you know now.
Well, Leo, if my mother wore that, I wouldn't know who she was.
Right. It works. And I suspect we're going to live in a sci-fi future where people are walking around with this weird makeup. It comes from a band called the Insane Clown Posse. I'll leave it at that.
People don't like clowns, Leo. This is bad.
Juggalos are scary.
So, as the Washington Post put it, Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio, the House Oversight Committee's ranking Republican, seemed particularly incensed during a hearing into the technology last month at the use of driver's license photos in federal facial recognition. Yes, good. In federal facial recognition searches without the approval of state legislators or individual license holders. Jordan said, quote, "They've just given access to that to the FBI. No individual signed off on that when they renewed their driver's license or got their driver's licenses. They didn't sign any waiver saying, oh, it's okay to turn my information, my photo, over to the FBI. No elected officials voted for that to happen," unquote.
So the Washington Post need to, though, right? I mean,
but that's my point, is that we've just jumped ahead of legislation. The Washington Post said, despite those doubts, federal investigators have turned facial recognition into a routine investigative tool. Since 2011, the FBI has logged more than 390,000 facial recognition searches of federal and local databases, including state DMV databases, the Government Accountability Office said last month. And the records show that federal investigators have forged daily working relationships with DMV officials. In Utah alone, FBI and ICE agents logged more than 1,000 facial recognition searches between 2015 and 2017, the records show. Names and other details are hidden, though dozens of the searches are marked as having returned a possible match, unquote. The Washington Post said back in May, both Democrats and Republicans blast facial recognition technology in a rare bipartisan moment. A committee hearing becomes the venue for worries about privacy and civil rights. They wrote, facial recognition technology endured fierce resistance in Washington on Wednesday, that was May 22nd, as both Republican and Democratic lawmakers criticized the artificial intelligence software, and this, by the way, comes from Amazon, as a danger to Americans' privacy and civil rights. At a time when most issues in Washington generate a starkly partisan divide, members of the House Oversight and Reform Committee were startlingly bipartisan in their condemnation of the technology, which federal and local law enforcement agencies are already using across the country to identify suspects caught on camera. Members blasted the largely unregulated technology as inaccurate, invasive, and having potentially chilling effects on Americans' privacy and free expression rights. Several voiced support for passing federal laws to restrain the technology's use before, as Representative Mark Meadows, a Republican from North Carolina, said, it gets out of control. Others voiced worries about the technology being used in the United States as it is in China, where it is critical to the government's systems of public monitoring and social control. The committee chairman, Elijah Cummings, said, quote, there's a lot of agreement among lawmakers that the technology should be regulated. The question, he said, is whether the system should face a moratorium while the technology is assessed or refined, or whether it should be banned outright. The committee's ranking Republican, that's Jim Jordan, who I mentioned before, compared the technology to Big Brother in the dystopian George Orwell novel 1984 and said it threatened Americans' First and Fourth Amendment rights covering free speech and protections against unreasonable searches. Quote, seems to me it's time for a timeout, he said. Doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, this should concern us all.